Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Yusuf Hassan, and of course you know me through Simply Management. So this video on SOP writing, basically I'm preparing this video for my Super 20 batch, but I'm also making it available to all of you so that you can go through it, and if required you can use some of the information to prepare your SOP before submitting it to the IAMS for your FPM application. Now, though the FPM applications are out for 2022, I would strongly recommend that you should not hurry up. You should be very slow. You should be very particular uh, while submitting your application, because what happens, though the deadline is towards the March or towards the January or towards the December, but people, whenever as soon as they receive the application, they're excited and they feel like submitting it as soon as possible. I completely agree that we should not submit our application towards the close towards the deadlines, but still submitting it too early is also not a really very sound decision, to be more precise. So take your time, work on your SOP, and read it as many times as possible before submitting it through your with your application. So to begin with, let me just uh, give a brief introduction about what exactly SOP is. So SOP, as it stands for Statement of Purpose, is basically an introduction about yourself, about your research interest, your desire and will to join a particular institute or a department or to work under a particular supervisor, and also it's a statement of your long-term goals. So SOP is basically a kind of a CV, concised and what we can say compact in few paragraphs, not hardly two or three. So it basically save a lot of time and efforts of the reviewers to go through your CV and look at the details and everything. They can simply have a look at your SOP and they will understand what all educational background you have incorporated in the last few years, your work ethics, and also about your research interests, and what according to you is meaningful to join a particular institute, especially their institute, to pursue a PhD, and what's your long-term goal, and so on, so on, so. Now, the first paragraph in your SOP is basically your introduction. Is basically about who you are. So this is exactly how you're gonna start your SOP. So you'll use the first paragraph where you will introduce yourself. I am so and so who has done undergrads in this and a post graduation in this, and willing to do a PhD in this area. So you basically introduce yourself, the greater picture of yourself, who you are, where do you come from, and what do you carry along with yourself, what is the educational and strong work ethics that you carry with yourself, and that will actually the first impression that you will create about yourself before the reviewer. So be very assured that in not all cases the SOP is being read, but definitely a cursory look over SOP is done by the selection committee for sure, for all the SOPs. So even if they are not reading it in detail initially, they will have a look at it, a very cursory look, and maybe towards the interview, I mean when the dates for interviews are declared, then they will go through your SOPs after, because then they will know who all have been shortlisted, and then it will be easier for them to go through those SOPs in particular, and then find out some of the problems and some of the research questions, some of the general questions that they can plan to ask you in the interview, and of course in subsequent rounds. Now, the first paragraph, as I said, you introduce yourself, you identify yourself, who you are, what you have done in your past, and especially the educational and your work related experiences, plus if you have something unique to add in terms of diversity, then of course, yes. You may want to start your SOP with something you believe will immediately pick the reader's interest. Basically, this is what we call a hook in the discussion. So you don't simply say that, okay, I am this and this. They'll say, okay, so what's unique about you? Everybody has done a bachelor's or a master's, and have you done anything unique that can interest us? To give you an example, so I did my post graduation social work, industrial relation, and organizational behavior. So I was organizational behavior expert. I mean, my specialization was organizational behavior, and my degree was masters in social work from Delhi School of Social Work, which is a part of Delhi University. Now, during my social work, my master's, 2 years masters, I spent almost 1,000+ hours conducting raid and rescue operations to rescue, children who have been trafficked for slave trades or for child labors. So my role was to basically coordinate with the enforcement bodies and with NGOs, uh, and to rescue these people and to help them get rehabilitated. Now, this was part and parcel of my social work trainee post job. So it was like, during the our coursework itself, we used to go on field on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We used to spend time with some NGOs, and we used to conduct these raid and rescue operations. This is exactly how this master in social work degree is planned at Delhi University. So it's a very unique program that is being offered now. So I started my conversation by introducing myself in my SOP. So I started my conversation by introducing myself. I am so and so, and I have a wide experience working with volunteer sector organizations, including more than 1,000 hours conducting raid and rescue operations to prevent and prohibit child labors and human trafficking. So this is exactly how you introduce yourself, and then a reader who comes across those information, he or she will say, okay, wow, this is something interesting. And believe me, all of you have a good story to tell. It's not like you don't have any story. So if you think that you haven't done your education from Delhi University and your degree is from, say, XYZ University, and there you never came across any such thing, believe me, then you're wrong. You really need to self introspect, and that's why I'm saying don't submit your SOP quickly. Take your time, work on that, think, introspect before you write your SOP, or at least create as many drafts as possible, so that during the revision you can realize what all mistakes you have made in the previous draft, and then you can make changes and you can make your SOP better. So think about it. You'll find a story to discuss, and that will be the hook of your whole conversation. And it should be very short and crisp, not a 5 liner or a 6 liner, just a 2 or 2.5 liner introducing about yourself, which is also your educational qualification, your work ex, as well as the something interesting that you have done during your undergrads, postgrads, or maybe at your job, and so on. No matter how you arrange this paragraph, by the end it should be clear that your long-term career goal is, and how admittance into this program would allow you to achieve this goal. Now, what I'm trying to say when I bring this content is basically towards the last last sentences of your paragraph. So three, maximum 2.5 sentences will go for your introduction, which is basically introducing yourself, degree, and your work ex, and plus anything unique. And the next 2 lines will introduce your desire and interest to join a particular program or a particular what I can say institute to pursue a PhD degree or an MPhil degree or any research degree, because this SOP is focused on research related positions. So why do you want to join IIM Bangalore, IIM Calcutta, IIM Ahmedabad, or any other IIMs or any other institute, say IITs per se? So that you should have a logical reason for that. You can say I'm Indore, I'm Bangalore has pioneered research, is known as a pioneer of research on educational management, and that's true because not many institutes are offering education management. Or you can say policy research, because we have institutes like for education management we have Mathai Center at Ahmedabad that does research on these areas. Yeah, whether the feasibility and whether what happens post PhD, I'll not get into that discussion. But to be very honest, very few institutes are offering education management, and IIM Ahmedabad is one among them, and it's of course leading these institutes. So you can talk about that, why your institute where you are applying is unique. So what I'm trying to say is that each SOP has to be unique. So each SOP that you submit to any institute has to be unique. Don't just copy paste, because different institute have a different expectation. Go through their vision and vision and mission of that institute. Try to read more about it. What are they aiming for? What are they looking for? Look at their FPM profiles. Look at their FPM curriculums, and you will understand what exactly they are looking for. And based on that, you can incorporate those changes. Now we will move to the second paragraph. Now second paragraph will again comprise of around 5 to 6 sentences, maximum 7 sentences. That's more than sufficient. So in the middle paragraph here, you will talk about your long-term goals, long-term career agendas. There you will say that by pursuing a PhD in organizational behavior or marketing, I'll develop expertise and inculcate the idea of ethical research. I would like to explore avenues such as B2B business or B2C business. And then of course you can also highlight that there are certain limitations in the current research which has been done in the past, and that is why your idea of exploring this area can actually add value to the academia and can also solve some of the industry problems. So basically you will say that there are certain industry problems, there are certain academia related gaps, and your research is expected to explore those gaps and solve those problems to a great extent. So don't make haphazard, don't make what I can say utopian claims. So don't make any claims which cannot be achieved, something which is highly highly fictitious. So just talk about something which is logical, something which can be achieved, and something that makes sense. And please know that even though your research interest as a PhD might be different, SOP does not necessarily mean that you will mention about that topic, because once you have joined the institute, you can change, you have the right to change the topic, and you can choose a different topic and you can explore that. Make sure that the SOP is something that should align with the expectation of the faculties and the departments where you are applying, to whom you are applying. Why? Because sometimes if the faculty is in particular area, let's say if that person is exploring artificial intelligence, now you cannot ask that person to tell to select you, even though your research interest is something different. Now this person is doing research on artificial intelligence, and you want to learn data analytics and something else which are not directly related, maybe indirectly but not directly related. Just to give an example, maybe you can find a better example for this. You cannot expect that person to select you in that case. So always try to make sure that your research topic or your research interest should align with the expectation and the desire of the faculties and the department to whom you are approaching. Now, how to do that? The best thing is that you go through their profile, try to learn more about it. Now don't just limit to the profile which is available on the website, official website of these institutes. Go to their Google Scholar profile and try to read more about their research publication. If required, even open some of their research publications and read it. Now you choose a topic and vaguely describe it. Don't be very specific that this is your sample and this is the context that you're gonna explore. No, don't do that. You're not really, it's not really good to say that you want to explore only IT industry and only 200 people and so on. The reason being, during the interview, if they ask you why 200 sample and why this particular industry, even though you claim to have an expertise in research, believe me, having an expertise after a PhD is very different from being a fresher, somebody who has never explored or never tried a career in research, and then jumping for a PhD program. So they will catch you, and of course they're gonna bash you like anything. They will grill you like anything. Avoid those controversy. Avoid being rejected. And the best thing to prevent this is to focus on a topic which aligns with their expectation and has been vaguely described in your SOP, not in details. When they ask you during the interview, you tell them the detail, but don't tell the detail in advance in the SOP, because once this SOP is submitted, you cannot make changes, right? And now if you are going to read more papers after the SOP has been submitted, and then if you come across some of the paper that says no, this whole concept is wrong, and then you come up with a new topic, then you won't have a chance to change it, right? So give a broader theme. You say, I want to explore micro level human behavior. or macro level human behavior. Now macro level human behavior means team related behaviors. Micro level behavior means individual level behaviors. Now this gives you an opportunity where you can make some changes before appearing for the interview, and you can say within micro level, sir, I want to explore, or ma'am, I want to explore only high performing teams and not general teams. I want to explore only sports teams. I want to explore only manufacturing and operational teams, or only finance teams. So you can change and you can make necessary accommodations during the course of time. But if you claim in advance, you won't have any chance. You will lose your chance of making any changes which are required, and that can prevent you from any controversies during the interview. So just follow my instructions. Also in the middle paragraph, you are expected to give more details about long-term goals, as I said. And this long-term goal is basically to become a good researcher and a better person. This is a common statement that we usually add to our SOPs. We always mention that by working with is highly esteemed and distinguished professors of these institutes, and learning more about macro level organizational behaviors, and of course other interdisciplinary topics, we will I believe that I would evolve as a better person and as a better academician. So this is a common statement that you may use to add value to your SOP. Now moving further, we comes towards the end of your SOP, and this will again include 3 to 4 maximum. In fact, 3 is desirable, 4 you can avoid. 3 sentences where you will conclude everything. So you will come back to exactly what you have started with. You will say, I believe that my prior expertise working in this industry or educational background, followed by rigorous training that will be offered by your institute, I would be able to solve some of the major problems pertaining to macro level organizational behaviors that can also have several wider implications for policymakers, for academicians, and for educationalists or industry persons. So this is exactly how you're going to conclude, and this conclusion should always connect with your middle paragraphs and your first paragraph. It shouldn't be a detached one. It should always have some connection with what you are saying at the beginning and at the middle. Returning to how this doctoral program will give you the skills and tools to become a leader, mover in this field, to improve the health of the population, and so on, are some of the examples that I have cited here that you can use to illustrate why getting into this program is important for you. Why getting into this program can solve some of the academic related problem, research related problem, as well as can resolve some of the industry problem. Always try to relate your research with industry as well as academia. Don't simply focus on industry saying that it will solve corporate problem. Don't simply say that it will solve some of the research problem in the which have been existence in the literature. No, always try to use both the context and discuss it, because if your research only contributes to the academia, then industry is left, and if it is only on focus on industry, then the academia is left. You have to address both the parties, right? And that's exactly how or when your research become valuable or interesting to others. Now the final touch, most important thing that you should do is that just revise your SOP again as many times as possible. The reason being, we as a human have certain biases, and we usually forget to look at our own work. I mean, once we have written something, we feel that it's the perfect and the finest piece of work, and we don't really go back and read it again to find the problems. But if you read it again, actually, you'll be able to identify some of the problems which can be addressed very easily, yet you have ignored in the initial steps. Always don't over exaggerate about your qualification and work ex. Having a 10 years work ex doesn't mean that you are the best. To be very honest, let me be very precise. And if you have a degree from IIT or IIMs, doesn't mean you are best. There are people coming from Indian Statistical Institute. There are people coming from foreign universities applying for this FPM program. So in that case, maybe you are not even you don't even stand before them. So I'm not saying that you are not an achiever in your life. You have not been an achiever throughout your academic career or your professional career. What I'm trying to say is that if you you look the world from a narrow perspective, you will not be able to understand that there are diverse people with different talents, and their writing skill is really commendable. So you have no idea who all are your competitors. So always try to be more humble, and don't over exaggerate information. Yes, you talk about what you have achieved in your life, but not too much achievements. Don't write that I published a research paper. Don't write that, and especially if that publication is not ABDC rated or ABS rated. It doesn't matter whether you publish or not. Your selection has nothing to do with your publication. I'll be very honest. Look at the profile of the students who have joined IM for FPM program in 2020 and 2021. Rarely one or two have published paper, and that too in a decent journal, because it has nothing to do with your publications. They understand that you are a fresher, and even without publication you can do really well, because after joining FPM, your major role is to publish, right? So why to pressurize you in the beginning itself? Let first judge you and select you and join you, and then only you can be trained to write a research paper. Publishing in a journal which is not even rated, not even peer reviewed, or presenting a paper in the conferences doesn't hold significance. It's very good at the master's level, at the undergrads level, where we feel proud about it. Even I was very excited, but at the PhD level, at top premier institute like I am, it's not even valued. So don't let's be very harsh, let's be very straightforward. Don't just overemphasize on your publication which has no ratings. Don't emphasize on your conferences that you have attended and has no significance, to be very honest. And also don't emphasize on your degree or work X, which can backfire. Because if you say 10 years work X, the first question they will say, why are you coming here? That means you are frustrated, and you are not getting a promotion or something, and that's why you want to get a PhD degree and just evolve yourself in a better person. No, we are not going to select you. Don't create a situation where they will raise a question. Always say that I have a wide industry exposure, over 8 years of work X, that comprises of experiences in divisions such as HR, marketing, and so on. And be as humble as possible. Don't simply say that I have 10 years of work experience and I think I'm the best person. No, you don't write like this, right? You're getting it. So just make it concise, make it very short, and stick to the word limit. Of course, that's something they are very particular about. Sometimes they will even count you in front of you, and they will see whether you have exceeded the word limit or not. And always be very clear about the research interest that you are expressing in the SOP. Say that this is my research interest, this is exactly what I want to explore. Broader themes, not the narrowed one. And then once you have submitted SOP, start working on that. So that is why you need to read a lot before you write SOP. This presentation, when it will be shared to my students have already gone through several papers, and so they already know which all topics are promising and which all topics are more interesting to work upon. And that is why when they will be writing an SOP, they will always have an idea in their mind, a broader area. Now, me as a mentor and some of my colleagues who have joined this Super 20 as a mentor, what we gonna do is we gonna read all these SOPs and we gonna discuss this with all of my students, and then we will try to see whether there is a need to polish their research idea further or not. And this is exactly how you refine yourself. So even if you don't have a mentor, even if you don't have anyone to guide you, you can do the same thing, same job on your own. Simply write your SOP first, draft SOP, revise it, and try to see how your research interest aligns with the research interests of the faculties, the department, the institute as a whole. And do you really have a broader research interest in your mind or not? If not, then this is high time you should go read more papers, develop an understanding before writing your SOP. So just follow on with my instructions, and I believe you can really do well with the strategy. Just a quick recap. First paragraph, you talk about yourself, introduce yourself, your education, work ex, and you just try to find and identify a hook, basically, that can connect the reader with your profile. They find it interesting. That's exactly the hook is all about. If you watch a movie, there is always a climax, right? There is always a beginning, a narration, a voiceover that starts the story, or somebody is speaking something, and then it connects the rest of the stories. This is exactly how the first paragraph has to be. Second paragraph, nobody reads much. Here you explain about your research interest and how it is associated associated with the long-term goals of the institute and your goals, and also talk about what all wide experience and educational qualification that you brings in, and so on. You can be a little narrowed in terms of background that you have, and you can be broader in terms of the research interest that you want to explore. And finally, you conclude everything by bringing whatever that you have discussed in the introduction and in the middle part, and then you summarize it and you say why you should be selected and what exactly you are going to contribute by joining this particular program or this institute. And then of course you polish, you read it, you draft again and again, and you trying to find errors, and you try to make it as concise as possible, stick to the word limit, and you also express your enthusiasm. You avoid any over exaggeration of your degree or your qualification or work ex or your background and so on. Don't start with coming from an army background or coming from a bureaucrat background. Like I belongs to both of them, armed forces as well as bureaucrat background, but I have always avoided this because this is something that can hurt somebody's ego. I mean, the other person, maybe he's a IIT All India rank 50 rank holder. The interviewer, the faculty who's interviewing you, because most of the IIMs have faculties coming from IITs and premier B schools and I engineering colleges. Now that person might be a rank 50 holder, and he will say, "Oh, this guy is over, he's just speaking too much about his family. He's just showing off. I'm not liking this guy. If this guy comes to this our institute, he will actually ruin the whole work environment, the culture of our institute, which is very humbled and very systematic and very very sober. So they will not appreciate it. So just avoid it. Don't introduce yourself as coming from army background, coming from bureaucratic background. I mean, you can avoid it. Why do you have to rely on your parents and your background? I mean, your family. Just rely on what you have done in your life, your educational background, your experience, rather than what your family has done. It will not play a good role, and it will not create a good impression about yourself, at least on a long run. Also, if you are coming from an IIT, don't over exaggerate that you have an IIT degree or you have an IIM degree and so you know everything. No, honestly, those who are coming from IIMs having an MBA degree, I have attended with the MBA students, and what I have realized that they vaguely learn topics, vaguely learn. So though they are very successful, there is no question about it, but from the researcher's point of view, they vaguely know the topics. We call it globe. So you knowing just the superficial information. That's exactly what is happening. You read the case study, you try to solve the case study, and your life revolves around the case study. But that's not exactly what research is all about. So avoid over exaggerating, avoid bluffing information, avoiding giving a surface information about yourself and trying to project yourself as the best candidate. No, don't do that. They know that you are not the best and you can't be the best. That's the truth. Let's just accept that. We don't want the best student. Actually, we want somebody who is motivated, who is an average guy and can stay in the organization for at least 4 years. That's exactly what they are looking for. Why would I want somebody who's the best candidate? Because there is a possibility that this best candidate will get a call from a foreign university or will get a call from a better university in India, and this person will not join. So why I should take vouch on that person? Why not take a person who's an average candidate? He can work hard, he or she can work hard, can do really well during the FPM, and can sustain the torture and can sustain the pressure for next 3 4 years. I think that is what they are looking for: a hard working, a motivated, a dedicated person rather than a topper. I have seen people who have been PGPs from IIM Ahmedabad and PGPX from IIM Ahmedabad as well, and they didn't even get shortlisted for FPM program at IIM Ahmedabad itself. From their own institutes, they didn't get any call. So imagine, and forget about the selection. So imagine this exactly can happen to you as well. Even if you are from IIMs, even if you are from IITs, you are from top institutes, there is no assurance or guarantee that you will be shortlisted for the interview. Of course, your profile and everything will matter, but there is no guarantee. Sometimes the institute will change the rule, which is not disclosed to the candidates, and all of a sudden the institute will decide that this time we are looking for humanities people, and so if you're IT, your chances are bleak. So I'm just giving an example that you have to be mentally prepared, and you have to be very honest with your SOP, be very humble, be very concise, and just talk exactly what is required, nothing more than that. Believe me, you'll get shortlisted. Over exaggeration can actually backfire. So I hope this presentation was helpful, and I believe that you'll be able to write a good SOP. I'm so sorry if I have not been able to reply back to your emails. Please understand that right now I'm no longer a FPM student. I have graduated, and I'm serving as a faculty with lot of workload. So it's really difficult for me to respond back to your emails frequently. But whatever and whenever it's possible, I try to respond back to people. And yes, of course, you can comment in the chat box, and you can ask me questions if there is, and if I'm available, definitely I will reply back. And I don't stop others from replying back to those questions, others who are aware of these approaches, aware of writing SOPs and so on. You can also reply back to these to people having a query, and help them out. So it shouldn't be totally dependent on me. Everyone should contribute to help each other. That's exactly how we can make this world a better place to live. That's all for today. Thank you.